They started the clock even before I sat down. Good. This panel is as close to the heart of Rotary as you will see at any district conference anywhere in Rotary. We have the current Vice President of Rotary International, Valarie. A past president, Barry, is a trustee of the foundation, and he will chair the TRF trustees in 2023-24. Excuse me, what was your title again? Oh, the president of Rotary for 2022-23, Jennifer. So I get to ask the questions, and you guys make up some stories, whatever you'd like. First question is, for each of you, when did you really become a Rotarian rather than just a member of a Rotary club? Not that there's anything wrong with just a member, but everybody has that moment they become a Rotarian.
I think we all have a lot of stories and incidences where we can say, this is when I became a Rotarian. But for me, I joined Rotary and I joined a district committee right away, and it was on AIDS awareness. And a year later, I found myself in an orphanage in Kenya, actually seeing the AIDS orphans left behind, being raised by their grandmothers, being educated in this orphanage, and being supported by Rotary. And so I became a Rotarian that day for sure.
I'm going to try to make a long story short, so forgive me. But I was probably 2 years into Rotary. I joined Rotary to network, get to know people. I was starting a new business. I needed new friends. I was an introvert, so that was really difficult. But anyway, 2 years in, I'm community service chairman, and the president came to me and said, I need your help, community service. Rosebud Bell is a lady in a wheelchair, one kidney not functioning, on dialysis, diabetic, hypertensive, but she needs to go to Florida to get eye surgery, so arrange it. Okay, and what's my budget? Oh, there is no budget, just make it happen. So I went to the directory. Remember the days we actually had a hard book with a directory of everybody in the world?
The good old days.
I went in there and I looked up clubs that are near Bascom Palmer in Miami, and I called somebody, never knew him, just out of the book. I have this issue, can you help me? Oh, absolutely. Let me give you the number of the hospital. A Rotarian works there. Called him, he said, no problem, the hospital will do it for free. Okay, how do I get a doctor? Oh, no problem, I'll give you a number. This doctor works here, he's at a different club. I called him, no problem, I'll do it for free. Wow. I said, okay, do you know anybody who has a connection to a hotel? Oh, no problem. Here's a number of a Rotarian who runs a hotel. Called him, absolutely. Got the room as long as you need it. Then I had to go to my local airline and say, I need to get this lady and her daughter to Florida and back. Oh, no problem, we'll cover all expenses. This all happened within 24 hours. Okay, that's when I realized the power of Rotary that we have. All we have to do is ask each other. I was a Rotarian from then on.
Excellent story. I'm going to say that my transition happened in this building. And as I reflect back to 1999, we had a district conference here, and it was at that point in time that I met Ron and Vera Bertinoli from Brazil. And they were here to help showcase the project that was taking place in the Amazon that Dr. Bill Chase from our district, who now lives in California, had been down there creating a dental clinic. And we heard from Bill, we heard from Bob and Mary Jean, who went to volunteer at that clinic. And I remember sitting at lunch with Ron and Vera and saying how impressed I was and how amazed I was with what they were doing. Now, I want to remind everyone or inform those of you who wouldn't know, at that point in time, when we were hearing of international service in this room, that was because we heard from Bill Chase or Bob Gallagher or Mary Jean. That was the extent of international service that we were doing in our district at that time. And I remember talking to Ron and Vera at lunch and saying, we'd love to be able to do something like that. And they said, well, come on, come along, come and do something. To Nick and I, and we hadn't even thought that that was a possibility, to go and travel somewhere and try and do something. And I remember showing up in the Amazon in a village that we stayed in for 5 weeks, where there was one plane in on Saturday and one plane out on Saturday. And that meant that you were there, you couldn't leave. And we stayed for 5 weeks, and I went down with this sensation that I was Florence Nightingale going to help the people. And oh, did I learn so much.
Would have helped if you were a nurse.
What's that?
I said it would have helped if you were a nurse. Yeah, just
Well, I'm married to a doctor. There's got to be something there. But I learned so much myself. I remember walking by a little house that you could see through the boards of the walls inside. But the kids were outside and they were playing. They weren't inside on video games. They were laughing. There was extended family. People were sitting around a table sharing a meal. And I walked away from that knowing that just because we think that something's right doesn't mean that it is. And that it was the first time I really saw perhaps the global connectivity that we all have, that we're all in this together.
okay. Jen? I have a question for you. What was on your mind when you imagined Rotary? And what's the feedback been so far?
So there is no more better place to be able to reflect upon the word imagine than in this, again, this district in this room. And many of you will recall in 2007, 2008, when I served as governor, and my mom's sitting in the front row. Mom, get up and stand up for a second. Turn around. Throw open your jacket. She's modeling the Imagine t-shirt that was the t-shirt of 2007, 2008. And that was the governor theme that year. And it was something that meant something to me because it really was about dreaming our wildest, craziest Rotary dreams and understanding how we can fulfill them. And what we've heard yesterday morning and this morning is exactly that. We've seen the words dream big on the screen. We've heard people talking about it, about being inspired to do things. And I just never want people to put a limit on what they believe they can do. We've heard countless stories over this past 2 days of we had a goal, we had a dream, and how many of those stories are about how they surpassed them. And so that ability for us to not put barriers in front of us and to break through and to know that we can make a difference in the world, that's the gift that we all have in our organization. And we can do it by also being inspired.
So do you know what happened to that idea with your mother and her governor's t-shirt? With the family next here, the Fair family, stand up.
I have not seen this.
Turn around. Let everyone see you. We transformed that into this.
I have not seen this. I have not seen this. Oh my gosh, you guys look gorgeous. That is amazing. And later on, when we're finished with this, I'm going to explain the logo so that you all understand what it means. But thank you, Jim and Mabsy, for bringing your family and for doing that. I guess the answer to your question about how's it going over is reflected by the front row of the house right here.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to Valarie. Valarie, how do you imagine diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, changing Rotary as we imagine into the future?
Well, you know, it's only been 2 years since the Rotary International Board really put an emphasis on diversity, equity, inclusion. And in my wildest dreams, and I think I can speak on behalf of the task force, we never thought we would even see the incremental changes that we're seeing right now in our clubs and districts. You know, Rotary International will provide the leadership and the tools and the permission, if you will, to have these conversations and support you in your clubs and districts. But the work that is being done in our clubs and districts every single day just inspires me. We will not be able to change culture. You will be able to change culture. And so we're already seeing, I speak around the world, of course on Zoom mostly, on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I can tell you that the parts of the world that we thought would be hesitant to embrace inclusion and equity, for example, Japan, who has less than 5% women in Rotary, are the leaders in this conversation. And that is what encourages us every day in this journey. And it is a journey. And we will never be able to tick a box and say we have accomplished diversity, equity, and inclusion. We are absolutely thrilled that President-elect Jennifer has made it one of her overarching themes. It was at international assemblies. Our district governors-elect are empowered and armed to support your clubs and support your members in this journey. So I see us in the future as an inclusive organization that involves everyone. I always say my Rotary involves everyone. And so we are already having these conversations. We're seeing the changes. We're seeing our Rotarians reach out into our communities and building those partnerships and having those conversations with those in our community that are currently not represented in our club. So I want to thank you for everything that you're doing and everything that you will do to make sure that our organization is not only relevant to our current members, our future members, but my grandchild, our children, and that we are a relevant organization going forward. So I want to thank you. I think our organization, it's an exciting time to be in Rotary. I think we're going in the right direction, and I think our leadership is really supporting us in that.
Thank you. Barry, as you guessed, you're up next.
I thought I might be.
Yeah. You are, without a doubt, the biggest promoter of Rotaract. Oh, they didn't share this time. The biggest promoter. Watch your cues next time.
Sounded like a boo. I don't know.
It's probably no, we won't get into that. You're probably the biggest promoter of Rotaract. Where do you expect Rotaract to be in the future, both the near future and the long future?
Short term, we're still working on change of culture of Rotary clubs and Rotaract clubs. The Rotary clubs need to rethink and just ask themselves, and somebody asked this question yesterday, but ask themselves, are you relevant to our young professionals? And if not, rethink what you do every day. Are you meet at the right time? Do you need to have a satellite club so you can make it easier for young professionals? Are you too expensive for people who are starting out in their careers, starting out in their families? Are you making it easy for them to be a part of it? Our Rotaractors do not want to be at boring clubs that are expensive at the wrong time of day. That's a reality around the world. But they absolutely love what we do to make our world a better place. And they want to be a part of that. So we have to figure out in each and every club, how do we make those changes so they want to join our Rotary Club and be a part of changing our world. Short term, we're going to see that happen. We're going to slowly, we've already started seeing individuals from Rotaract be assistant governors, be on district committees, to be on all the international committees now. I think we have a Rotaractor everywhere. They're represented at the table. Now we have to work on changing the culture. Long term, I see as many Rotaract clubs as Rotary clubs. I see a tremendous growth in the young professionals moving into Rotary clubs. We will increase our membership numbers when our clubs are relevant to Rotaractors and they start joining in large numbers. They've only been joining about 4% a year. That's crazy. They're trained, they know Rotary, and they love what we do. Let's get them in. Long term, we're going to wonder why Rotary clubs are less than Rotaract clubs.
Before you move on to asking me another question, I want to make sure that everyone understands that Rotaract is a membership type now in our organization, and that on July 1 of this year, they become dues-paying members of Rotary International. And so that gives us the ability to better quantify how many of them there are in our world. It's a modest payment that they're going to make, but it is one of those, I think, skin in the game kind of moves for us right now to make sure that they understand that they are contributing as well, will access our grants, and have the ability to do incredible things in our world. And so when we speak of Rotary members, because I'm moving totally past talking about Rotarians and Rotaractors to Rotary members and making sure that everyone understands that we are equal in this journey.
In the last 3 years, Rotary has totally elevated Rotaract, changed all the policies we need to change to bring that elevation. We need the culture change next, but the last piece of the puzzle is changing my Rotary so that every Rotaractor has the same access as every Rotarian. Then we truly are in the same position, and they feel we are respecting them as we should. So we've come a long way. I think it's one of the fastest changes we've had in our organization.
Jen,
Bob.
welcome back. No. As you plan your year as president, what do you hope that your and your board's legacy will be?
Okay, so this is an interesting question. I think back to a conversation that I had with John Germ, our past president, that I had the opportunity to serve as his vice president. And I remember asking him this exact same question, and it informed how I feel about this. I asked him, John, what do you want your legacy to be? And he said, Jen, I'm not about legacies. And he didn't, and I love that, because it wasn't about something about him. It wasn't about, and it's not something about me. It's the same thing that drives me mad. I hate when people say my year. It's not my year, it's our Rotary. And so I don't want to get into legacy building either. And, you know, let's be quite honest. I know that forever and ever in the rest of my life, I'm going to hear the whole, she was the first female president of Rotary International.
Excuse me, would you say that again, please? I'd love to hear it. Say it again. Come on.
And I truly embrace and love and respect and am excited about that. That's going to be something, you know, that I'm going to hear. But I'm not looking to build a legacy. I'm looking for us to do good things. And you know what? I'm going to own this one. Yes, I do have a legacy. I want to pave the way for people to understand that we can appear as our authentic selves. And if being a woman in this position helps someone to see that they can be a little bit different, then I want them to understand that that's something that can be powerful for them.
Bob.
Thank you. No, don't do that. We've only got a few mics left. Go ahead, Barry.
I just want to make sure it's very clear to everybody that Jennifer Jones was elected to be our president because she was the best qualified candidate in the Rotary world.
And we also love that she's Canadian. And one of the first woman president is a Canadian, too.
You got 10 minutes later. You know, just give me a second to ask Barry one more question, darling. Barry, as you imagine Rotary and you prepare to change the chair the Rotary Foundation, what are the changes you see in our foundation coming? And you have about 45 seconds.
Well, first of all, I want to meet with my trustees and talk to them about what they want to do. This, as has been said, we're a team, and that's a very important factor. I'm already talking with Gordon McInally. He'll be president when I'm chair. We're going to work much closer together than they have in the past. I know Jennifer will work closely, but we want to make sure that the Rotary world understands this is one organization, not two, and work closely together. Already just yesterday, Gordon and I talked about our goals. Can you imagine that? Our goals for next year and what we want to accomplish. And we're looking at some maybe a little bigger goals than we've had in the past. I think those who know me know I love being bigger, better, and bolder. Ray Klingensmith said it well.
That's audacious.
Yes, that too. So yeah, it's about us getting together, talking about it, and let's come up with some plans as to how we can do more grants than we've ever done before, raise more money than we've ever done before. At that point, we almost have to reach our endowment goals. We've got a lot to do.
Well, thank you all for being here, the three of you. It's just amazing to see you on one stage and to be with the three of you when you're on one stage. But we're at 0 now. Jen, you stay, and the three of us will leave, and Jennifer gets to do Heart to Heart with Jennifer Jones. We love you, darling.
Give it up for these guys.
Thank you.